someone has if a guy has a fantastic relationship with his mum, he respects her and it's just like, yeah, no, she's, she works hard, she does this, that and the other, whatever it is, whatever the values are, then the chances are that he has a set of values about treating women with respect as well.
Yeah. Does love ever work like that though? Do you not catch someone's eye, get chatting to them, start to develop a relationship, and then you find out who they are? So it's often sometimes you're in too late. Like you find out who someone really is when you really get to know them. Because I think on first dates and even in the first few months of a relationship, like you try and be your best. Like you just do. And that's not saying you fake it, but like you want to show up, and you want to do well. Like and I don't mean that as in that I'm going to really try and impress this person. I mean, you just, you want to look the part, you want to smell good. You don't want to turn up not making an effort, because I don't think that looks good. So you often show up front, you show the best parts of yourself.
Yes.
And you feel pride in that. And they're genuine parts, by the way. I'm not saying that they don't exist. It's just behind those best parts are probably some things that you're not so proud of.
Yeah.
That come out later in the relationship. So maybe your guard comes down, or perhaps you just can't keep that level of standard up for 6 months, 12 months. So you start to expose parts of you that you don't like, and then the partner sees them. And then there's two things going on then. Your partner's seen some of the worst parts of you, and you've shown your partner some of the worst parts of you, and you've shown them it. So now the secret's out, they're, fuck, they know who I am now.
So what you've just described there is an avoidant person.
Oh, I feel like you're profiling me here.
Because it's the putting on the best side of yourself all the time, and then saying, well, but you can't keep that up for 6 months, as opposed to just saying, actually, this is the real me from day one.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do that at day one, and you wouldn't appreciate it either. So if we went out, for example, for a drink, and I was, let's say I was late, I didn't look my best, I was rude, which I can be, by the way. I can be all these things. If I'm really grumpy inside, I can be rude. But there's no way I'd do that on the first day. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. So I'm never going to show you who I am on date one. I think that'd be a terrible tactic. Don't you?
It would be honest, though.
Yeah, I'll be honestly single for the rest of my life. I'll tell you that. But then what I would say though is it's then looking at, okay, why would those things be acceptable later on though? Why would it be, if you were to say, look, I have a terrible temper, I'm not saying that you have, but or I'm super grumpy, or I'm always late for things. I'm always late for things. That's something you can definitely address. I'm amazed I got here on time. I am catastrophically late. You got early.
No, I mean I'm not, but I mean on the date. Sorry.
I thought you were just
no, I'm not confessing to that. No, I'm generally not super late. No.
I can't do it.
But if you were to say that on a first date, to be honest about it, which is I'm amazed I was here on time, and because I'm normally such a late person, those sorts of things. It's important that people understand that, because you might have someone else who goes, oh my God, me too. And it's like, great. So that's just not going to be an issue between the two of us then.
Yeah, I get that. I think there's levels though, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't think you go in and pour your entire heart out and your history of like all your faults. But again, isn't that like a real negative way to go into a relationship? Do you know what? I'm going to tell them all the shit that's wrong with me. Because I could say, well, do you know what? There's a lot right with me too.
Yeah.
And what I will show, because I always feel like over time, if you really love someone, you can become more accepting of their faults, and you might not on date one. So on date one, there's no attachment, no emotional attachment. You don't love the person. And I think sometimes, well, I don't know, maybe it's harder to accept their faults when you're in love. Maybe it's easier. I don't know. But I think there is something to be said for time. And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and
definitely.
Discovering, because if you hit me with all your faults at one time and I hit you with all mine, you might go, well, Alex, that's too much. Like, that's way too, I can't handle that shit. Like, you're nuts, get out of here. But if I drip feed some of these things and just like, does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think that you can drop breadcrumbs along the way though, to help people understand
which is what I'm saying.
Who you really are. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But then they might say, well, it's, I wish I'd known this shit at the start.
Yeah.
This is why relationships are so hard. Some of the most successful people I've spoken to on these podcasts, therapists as well, they always say relationships is the biggest issue they have to deal with people.
Yes.
Like, most people can work their own shit out at some point or deal with it. It's when other people get involved. It's the thing that destroys most people.